The announcer says she has to reach the exit to win, but if she touches the line, she moves back. And if she steps out, she's disqualified. The game starts, she moves forward, but her thoughts drift. Something brushes against her cheek, something damp strokes her hands, and warmth spreads through her body. The pounding in her ears gets louder. She doesn't know where it's coming from. Then she makes a mistake. She's out. A spectator says she was doing well. What happened? Another laughs and says they should put the prize back in. She thinks that was quick, but that's okay. A whisper tickles her ear. His voice is low, almost shaky. He says she's driving him crazy. His heart is pounding. She asks, "What?" He says he really wants to kiss her. She shuts his mouth with her hand. He drags her along and tells a spectator they're going. The guy asks. Really, he doesn't answer, just pulls her faster. They start running. She asks how far he's taking her. He stays quiet. She tells him people are staring. Can he let go? He casually says he got protection this week. She stops, yanking her hand away. She remembers last time and how it didn't go well. Then another memory hits her. A loud summer day. The first time she met him. Hayda tells Eunkyo that a tenant is moving into the basement today. She blinks and asks what. He nods and says yes, so she should clear out her stuff. It's all junk anyway. She huffs and says one of them belongs to Dohy. He waves a hand and says he knows, but it's still her ex-boyfriend's, so just clean it up. Then turns to a customer and calls out that their iced latte is ready. She stares at his face and thinks, look at that abominable smile. This is Kim Haeda, her old friend, her landlord, and her annoying coworker. If it weren't for one of those things, she might actually be happy to see him smile. He snaps his fingers and calls her name, tells her to stop zoning out and take out the trash. She narrows her eyes and thinks, never, even if she has to crawl back from the afterlife. He reminds her she has an appointment at 11:30, so she should stop slacking, head upstairs, and next time, not volunteer for things. There's no need to work for free. She points out that he was the one who recommended the job. He shrugs and says he didn't know she wouldn't get paid. She waves a hand and says it's Sungun's startup, so she wants to help. Besides, it's been a while since the professor contacted her. Hayda raises a brow and says that Sunbae is pretty well off. So what's there to worry about? Then tells her to treat herself to some beef. She nods and says she'll do her best. She'll throw out the trash and go straight in. He says, okay. She steps outside with the trash, wipes her forehead and sighs. It's only June, but the heat is unbearable and the cicadas are already screaming like they have rent to pay. Hayda's words echo in her mind. A tenant moving into a place that's been abandoned for 3 years. Is he that desperate for money? When is he even planning to clean it up? In the basement, traces of Dohy are still sitting there, rotting away like forgotten leftovers. Maybe one day, tossing out the garbage will finally feel like throwing away a broken heart. Our girl had an easy, comfortable relationship, the kind that felt steady without trying too hard. She met Dohy when he graduated college and was preparing for his degree in Korean literature. He was handsome, kind-hearted, and loved by everyone, maybe because they all thought she wasn't good enough for him. She never tried to hold him down, but he stayed faithful anyway. Calm, steady, predictable. She thought they were solid, 3 years strong, until one day he disappeared without a word. Hayda called it a submersible breakup, said he just sank without warning. In a flashback, Dohy walks beside her and gestures ahead, tells her there's a playground right in front. The yard is pretty spacious. It's a quiet residential area, so much better than the noisy main street. Plus, it's bright and safe at night. He likes that. What does she think? She looks around and nods, says it's a good one. 3 years ago, for a reason as simple as that, she fell in love at first sight. Hayda later bought the building and remodeled it, turned the second floor into a rental house for her, turned the first floor into a café they opened together, and made the basement a roasting room and storage space. He always said nothing heals heartbreak like financial therapy, and honestly, he wasn't wrong. A new house, a new job, And the book she wrote becoming a huge hit at just the right time, she's been scrambling to get back on track and patch up her broken heart. In short, capitalism and financial therapy, two things Haeda probably finds regrettable. She's come this far by trying to forget, only holding on to the bad memories. She notices him and catches a faint scent in the air. Is that fabric softener? It doesn't match the thick summer humidity. The man thanks her, says if it weren't for the script, she truly is a great writer. She waves a hand and tells him not to praise her too much. Anyone could have written it. She asks when the recording starts. He says his friend will be here soon to narrate. He's also recommended by the professor, but he's a sculptor. Pretty cool, right? She tilts her head. Sculpture and narration. Isn't that a weird mix? The door opens. A young man walks in and apologizes to Hyung, the man she's been talking to. Says he drove there. She catches the deep, resonating tone of his voice and thinks, did she mention that the voiceover is also a volunteer? With a voice like that, he's definitely getting away with it. Hyung asks the young man if he's met Mingyu before. He nods and says yes. He's the composer. Mingyu smiles and says it's nice to meet him, compliments his looks. Meanwhile, Eunkyo mutters that she wishes she could say hello too, but she's tired of making new friends. He walks up to her, greets her, and calls her Sunbae. She sighs, says hello, and corrects him. Her name is Jung Eunkyo. He nods and introduces himself as Lee Jaeheon, says he heard she graduated from their school and looks forward to working with her. She waves a hand and says it's been a long time since she graduated. She wasn't even in the same department, and he should just call her by her name. He looks horrified and asks how he could possibly do that. Hyung claps his hands and asks if they can start recording. Another man calls Jaeheon over and shows him the way. Jaeheon nods and says, okay. Eunkyo frowns. Something feels off. Like she already knows him, but from where? His face isn't one you forget easily. Her eyes drift. She notices the coffee is from their café. The faint scent of fabric softener lingers in the air, the same one that doesn't fit with the damp summer. She remembers passing by a man earlier, a funny coincidence. Hyung signals for them to continue. Jaeheon starts reading again. His voice is deep yet soft. It blends perfectly with the script. She glances at the page and thinks. The next script starts with, hopefully. Hyung nudges Eunkyo and asks if the narration was amazing. Right? She nods and says yes. He sighs and wonders if being handsome automatically comes with a great voice too. Even the sculpture department apparently recognizes Jaeheon for his looks. The guy has it all. He's so jealous. Meanwhile, she thinks to herself that, honestly, it was too good. Almost unreal. Does she have a voice fetish? This is bad. It's way too good to be true. Hyung changes the topic and asks what she's been up to lately. She shrugs and says she writes, works at a cafe, and sometimes travels. He throws his hands up and declares that she's the true winner of this era, Jung Eunkyo. She squints at him and says he's exaggerating. She just lives day by day, clear-headed but tired, drained of passion, then suddenly her eyes meet Jaehyun's. Haeda's voice rings in her mind, warning her to stop staring blankly at people. It's not interest, just a weird kind of curiosity. She studies Jaehyun's smile and his friendly demeanor and wonders if that's really his true nature. Another guy asks Jaehyun a question. He flashes another smile, smooth and effortless. She narrows her eyes. He just dodged answering naturally. A green-eyed smirk, a moderately friendly demeanor, the kind of charm that makes people's hearts race. Whether he means to or not, it's the type that wins people over effortlessly. If she had to put a label on it, maybe a harmless narcissist, not the kind you run into often. There was someone she knew who was just like him, but why is she thinking of that name again? Her phone starts ringing. She glances at the screen and tells Hyung she's stepping out to take the call. He smirks and asks if it's Kim Haeda. She sighs and says yes, probably about the cafe being closed. He shakes his head and says they're really something else. She laughs and calls it a squishy family affair. He nods and says he gets that. She picks up and Hayda immediately asks if she's not done yet and if she forgot to clean the basement. She winces and quickly apologizes, says she's at a company dinner. Has the tenant arrived yet? She'll head back now. He says the tenant stuff is coming tomorrow. Where is she? He'll pick her up. She insists she can go on her own, but he guesses she's near the recording studio and tells her to just say where. She sighs and says there's a tavern in front of the main gate, but he doesn't respond. She frowns and asks if he doesn't know it. He finally speaks and says he does. He'll pull into the next alley. She should meet him there. She mutters, "Okay, she'll be right out." She turns to Hyung and says Hayda's picking her up, so she'll leave first. He blinks and asks why so suddenly. She shrugs and says she needs to take care of something with him, and he's already nearby. He nods and says, "Okay, she did a great job today. Next time, he'll buy her a drink with Hayda." She smirks and reminds him that Hayda doesn't drink. Instead, he should just buy her some meat when he calls her in again. She looks around, sees everyone having fun, and decides to quietly slip out. Hyung agrees, but meanwhile, Jaeheon notices when she leaves. Eunkyo wrinkles her nose and asks Haeda if he smoked before driving. He grins and says she's got a sharp nose. She reminds him she hates the smell of cigarettes. He ruffles her hair and tells her to let it slide just for today. She swats his hand away and tells him to stop. It's gross. She eyes his clothes and asks if he changed to work, but what's with the hat? He shrugs and asks what's wrong with it, then switches topics and tells her to turn on the light while he checks the junction box. She sighs and says she'll use her phone flashlight first. He warns her what if a ghost shows up. She rolls her eyes and tells him ghosts won't, but he should go check the box. She steps inside and mutters to herself that she's not Indiana Jones. So why is she even doing this? A suitcase catches her eye, along with something that looks like a book. Her stuff is mixed in too, things she probably shouldn't throw away. Regret settles in. There are so many photos here, meaningful records, but not of moments with Lee Do-yeon. Should she really just toss them out like trash? She glances around and notices the light still isn't on. Asks if there's a problem with the junction box, then decides she'll just tear the pictures apart. Before she can react, someone grabs her, voice sharp as they demand to know who she is and why she's digging through someone else's studio. Her breath catches as their eyes meet. It's Jaeheon. He blinks, lets go, and immediately apologizes. Says he thought she was a thief. She exhales and says it's fine. He frowns and says if he knew it was her, he wouldn't have... She cuts him off and asks if he'd really treat a stranger like that. He scratches the back of his head and says, "Sorry again." He studies her neck and mutters that it's a little red. Asks if it hurts. She shakes her head and says she's fine. Meanwhile, she thinks to herself that no matter how many times she looks at him, his face and even his scent are totally her type. She tilts her head and asks if he's Lee Jaeheon. He nods and says he recognized her the moment the lights turned on. She blinks and apologizes, admits she's not great at remembering people. Her mind lingers on his words. What does he mean by that? Maybe they should put some distance between them. She clears her throat and asks what he's doing here. He casually replies that it's his studio. Her eyes widen. He adds to be exact. It's his studio starting today. She stares at him and asks what he means. He says he's officially moving in tomorrow. She asks if he's serious. He nods. She stands there for a moment trying to process it. She still can't believe it. Jaeheon asks what she's doing there. She says she's trying to clean up all the stuff she's been piling up. Then Hayda walks in and asks if the light is on. He sees them and says they've already met. He starts to introduce them, but she cuts in and says she knows. They met at the studio earlier. He was in charge of the narration. Jaeheon says he didn't expect to see her there. Does she live nearby? She says she lives on the second floor. Hayda asks why he's there at that hour. He said he'd be moving in tomorrow afternoon. Jaeheon replies that he had something to check while passing by. He glances at the pile of stuff and asks if it's all hers. It's quite a lot. Does she need help moving it? She says most of it is hers, but not all. She's throwing it away so he doesn't need to bother. He says then she should just leave it. He'll handle it tomorrow while moving his stuff in. There's already plenty of trash, so he'll clean up the place anyway. She says she can't trouble him. She'll take care of it. He says she just said it wasn't hers. She sighs and says, fine. It's hers. She thanks him for offering, but she'll clean it up. He says he wasn't offering for her sake. She frowns and asks what he means. He says, starting today. The place is his. And honestly, he doesn't like people messing with his space. She thinks to herself that the polite tone mixed with irritation is way different from the guy she met during the day. Is this what he's really like? Is this his real face? Later at home, she flops on her couch and wonders how far she got in her drama. Then her eyes land on a ring box. She picks it up and frowns. Why did she bring this with her? In a flashback in the basement, Hayda asked if anyone couldn't clean because it would be more convincing if Mr. Tenant did the cleaning, and then he would ask for a favor. He proposed free drinks for a week and asked Eunkyo if that was okay, and she replied yes. And then she told Jaeheon that she owed him so she would make him some coffee, to which he asked if she also worked at the café, and she confirmed she did, working with Hayda. He mentioned he had heard she was a writer, and she said she wrote only when she felt like it. Then Hayda interrupted to check if it was settled that the new tenant would clean up the basement, declaring that since it was the tenant's space, they should get out of there. And he told her to go wash up while she retorted that he should keep quiet and wash up instead. And she wished Jaeheon good luck with his moving and thanked him for taking care of the trash, with him assuring her that he wouldn't illegally dump it. End of flashback. Later, she thought that was great since it was something she'd been avoiding and wondered what was the point of leaving her mixed up stuff behind, questioning why she hadn't thrown the ring away as well, thinking she had kept it because she believed she should sell it when times were hard. But now that she had nothing to worry about, maybe she should just leave it even though it was precious metal and not trash. Though it felt odd to let someone handle it, especially since, despite the years, the ring still fit perfectly. And she mused that she must be crazy and told herself to forget about it. Meanwhile, Jaeheon was on the phone with his mom while he stared at some pictures, and she remarked that they'd give him a seat at the art center, wondering why he moved into that neighborhood and made his mom worry. Noting it was close to school and a nice place, and that he liked both the neighborhood and the studio, teasingly adding that maybe he had wine with his uncle today, to which he replied, yes. His dad had gotten better at looking after things, and she observed that he seemed to be in a good mood, while he, looking at the pictures, thought to himself that perhaps it had been 5 years ago. His mother then asked if he was listening, warning him that if he kept doing that, he would upset her, and he replied that he was moving in tomorrow morning and was a bit busy, so she agreed they should have a meal together that month because she needed to see her son's face after he became independent once he finished studying abroad, and he said, okay, before ending the call to go to sleep. Afterward, he walked upstairs and saw Hayda, and asked if Hayda smoked, and Hayda replied that he did sometimes, but had quit because he didn't think it was good for him, and he didn't want his hands to stink. Hayda asks him if it's true he didn't know it was Jung Eunkyo, and he replies with a sheepish smile that yes, he didn't realize she was also involved in the narration. Jaeheon remarks that it's quite the coincidence, explaining that he initially refused the offer, but that Sungun-hyung practically begged him since it was a career chance he couldn't pass up, knowing full well that the graduating artist's future is as unpredictable as a tossed coin. And Haeda then questions his meaning by pointing out that he's already become so popular, thanks to his knack for cleaning up basement trash on time, that he shouldn't mention Lee Do-yeon in front of Jung Eunkyo, or even pretend to know him. Jaeheon then asks with a playful smirk if it's because she has forgotten about his brother. Hayda tells Jaeheon not to provoke her. She wasn't acting like that on purpose, just a little nervous. He knows how things ended with Lee Do-yeon, so he should never let himself get caught just because he's the guy's younger brother. Jaeheon shrugs and says, sure. He grabs the cigarette from him, reminding him it's a non-smoking area. Even the landlord should take care of his own property. He says he'll see him later and walks off. Eunkyo rings up an order, confirming it's an Americano and scones. The customer nods. She asks if someone's moving into the basement today. When she hears it's an artist using it as a studio, she hums in interest. The customer points out something on her lips. She touches her mouth, explaining it's just a mosquito bite. She left her window open last night. She offers to bring the coffee to the table and the customer thanks her. Hayda sets down the scones and tells the customer the cake is coming soon. The woman nods. As Hayda walks away, she thinks it's funny how the guy once known as Kim, Yoon, Dongju from the Korean literature department is now good at baking. Not that she's judging, she's just an ordinary person too. No matter what he does, he puts in effort. His life may look easy, but it's not. That's why when he offers his hand, she'll take it without hesitation. Dongju calls out that the strawberry cake is done. Hayda asks when he bought strawberries and if there are any left. He tells her to check the tray inside. She asks if she can eat some cake too. He just tells her to eat the leftover strawberries instead. She huffs, calling him mean. Leaving the counter to him, she happily goes to eat the strawberries. She gets a text about one of her scripts and immediately assumes it's a rejection. She sent the manuscript months ago, and now they finally reply. Did they take all this time just to say no? She reads the message, which says they missed the unique synopsis, unusual theme, and fearless plot she had in her previous work. She thinks back to those stories before remembering her idea book. She quickly tells Hayda she's stepping out for a minute, and when he asks where she's going, she says just to the basement. She needs to ask something. He asks what, but she brushes it off, telling him to just leave the dishes to her. She'll be right back. He agrees. She wonders what if Jaeheon already threw everything away, but she just needs to grab that notebook. When she reaches the basement, she sees the door open and knocks, saying she's there to ask something, but then she freezes. He's in the middle of changing. He casually explains that his clothes got dirty from moving his stuff, while she struggles to maintain eye contact, feeling beyond embarrassed. She clears her throat and says she'll just ask from here. Did he already throw away her trash? Jaeheon says there's still a bit left and asks why. She quickly asks about a specific box, the one with the smiley face on the outside. He says he hasn't thrown it away yet. She sighs in relief and asks if he touched anything inside, making it clear she's looking for something. He raises a brow and guesses, the protection? Isn't that a little too old? 3 years is kind of pushing it. She nearly chokes and quickly corrects him. No, not that. Just the notebook. That's all she needs. Did he already dump it? She quickly apologizes, reminding him that she was the one who asked him to clean up, but she really needs that notebook back. She calls his name and waits, but why is he taking so long to answer? He finally asks what's in there that's so important, making her blink in confusion. He says he didn't throw it away because it didn't seem like trash to him. She sighs in relief and asks him to give it to her. He can throw out everything else. He smirks and asks if he should just hand it over for free. She wonders why he's acting like it wasn't hers in the first place. She sighs and offers to buy him a meal or something he needs. He casually says he has plenty of money. She asks what she can do for him then, unpacking his bags. He tilts his head and asks if she'll really do whatever he wants. Before she can answer, he points out her swollen lip and asks if she got bitten by a bug. She nods and says it was a mosquito, but internally she's confused. Why is he suddenly bringing that up? She asks if this is how he usually acts. He shrugs and asks how she expects him to act. She hesitates before saying she doesn't know, but it's not quite what she imagined. He chuckles and says he thought she had already noticed. She frowns and asks what he means. He leans in slightly and says he's been trying to be nice and sweet too, but she already knows what kind of person he really is. She stiffens. Did he just say that he noticed that she noticed? If she's not mistaken, he's actually enjoying watching her squirm. She quickly says she wasn't thinking properly and decides she doesn't actually need the notebook after all. She apologizes, says she knows he's busy, and turns to leave. He raises a brow and asks if she's really giving up that easily. She sighs and says she's not a fan of dumb word games or getting on people's nerves. Before she can walk away, he suddenly grabs her hand. He asks if she's angry. She raises a brow and asks if she looks angry. He sighs, says that was rude of him, and apologizes. He'll get her notebook, so she shouldn't be mad. She crosses her arms and thinks it's way too fast for him to suddenly apologize. Does he not realize that an empty apology like this is even more ridiculous? She tells him to please just give it to her, but before he can respond, his friends barge in. One calls his name, another points out the door is open, and they invite him to eat jjajangmyeon. She glances at them, then back at him, and says, since his friends are here, she'll get going. She reminds him to give her the notebook and walks out. As she heads back, she thinks about how he said he's 5 years older than her. So that means they're all in their mid to late 20s. They seem so young. Later, Eunkyo sighs and says they really need to find a part-timer. Dinner service was a nightmare. Hayda groans, saying he's exhausted. He figures a lot of people would want a part-time job since it's college vacation season. He'll look into it. She asks about his car, and he says his sister's coming over, so she should hurry inside. She tells him to drive safe. He waves her off with a goodbye. She walks into her quiet apartment, wondering if everyone's gone now. Maybe Jaeheon will give her the notebook tomorrow. She stares at her desk, wondering if that notebook will actually help her new work. What if she gets rejected again? She tells herself to face reality. Deep down, she already knew this submission was a failure. The late reply was a dead giveaway. It was just something she scrawled under pressure to submit anything. She sighs. Honestly, she was just lucky that her work sold in the past, considering her writing skills were just... She stops herself and shakes her head. Enough with the self-pity. Hurt feelings or not, she's starving. Oh, right. She didn't even have dinner because of how busy she was. She decides to order something quick and wash up while waiting for it to arrive. She feels sleepy after bathing. Should she just skip the meal and go straight to bed? She hesitates. Is it even safe to get food delivered this late? She hears a knock, opens the door, and blinks. Jaeheon? In a delivery uniform? She asks if he's working part-time as a delivery guy now. He shakes his head and says no. They ran into each other at the stairs, so he just picked it up. He figured he'd bring it along with her notebook. He tried to make it before the cafe closed, but that didn't work out. She nods, thanks him, but says he could have just given it to her in the morning. He tilts his head and asks if she wasn't in a hurry. Did he come for no reason? She quickly says no and apologizes. She glances at the food, then back at him, and asks if he wants to share. It's a lot for her to eat alone. He hums, then casually says there's wine in his car. He'll go grab it. She stares at him. What? She only said that to be polite. When someone offers something, it doesn't mean you actually take them up on it. And she knows for a fact that he's not clueless. He really just showed up at her house late at night, and now he's bringing wine? The intent is so clear, it's almost laughable. Lee Jaeheon does not seem like the kind of person who hides his desires, or maybe he just doesn't feel the need to hide them from her. Whatever. He's just a kid. She glances around her apartment. Should they eat at the table? No, the living room is better. It'll be less awkward if she turns on the TV. She doesn't want to admit it, but the embarrassment she felt during the day is worse now that it's nighttime. She realizes something as she sets the food down. She was also acting on impulse. Jaeheon walks in, holding up 2 bottles. He asks if that's okay. She nods and says she'll get glasses, but if he gets drunk, how is he going to drive? He shrugs, saying he could sleep in the studio. She points out that it's still a mess. He says it'll work out somehow. She suddenly realizes something, but pushes the thought away. No need to overthink. She tells him to sit and asks if he's had this wine before. He shakes his head, saying someone gave it to him. She hums, saying she likes it. He raises a brow, surprised. She grins, saying she drinks it often. She glances at the table and realizes she ordered way too much food. She must have been sleepy. If she ate all this alone, it'd last her 3 nights. Jaeheon looks at her hair and frowns. It's too wet. Is she really not going to dry it? She waves him off, saying it'll dry soon. She reaches for the bottle, asking if she should open it. He smirks, saying he's probably better at it. She scoffs, asking what makes him think so when she drinks it all the time. He leans back, smug. He worked at a bar when he studied abroad. He's opened dozens of bottles in a day. She huffs, handing it over. Fine. He wins this round. He laughs, saying he's noticed since this afternoon. She changes her mind fast. She nods, saying she hears that a lot. No point fighting over small things. He tilts his head, asking if she can't just say no sometimes. She frowns, saying that'd be weird. Then pauses. Wait, does he know her from somewhere? Jaeheon raises a brow, asking what kind of question that is. Eunkyo shrugs, saying it's just the way he talks. It doesn't sound like they're strangers. He smirks, saying that's because they're not. He knows her. Jung Eunkyo, 31 years old, talented writer, junior from the creative writing department. She blinks. Junior from the creative writing department? He nods, saying that's what Hyung told him, then asks if he said something weird. Why does she think this isn't their first time meeting? She hesitates. It's just... He feels familiar. Looks like someone she knows. But she's not about to tell him it's her ex. No need for that. Instead, she brushes it off, saying her question earlier was too obvious. A cheesy, where have we met before kind of thing. Jaeheon tilts his head. He's never heard that he looks like someone else. Is his face that common? She shakes her head. It's not that they look alike. It's the vibes, the voice. Well, maybe a little bit of the face too. She thinks the funniest part isn't even how he looks or sounds. It's how he's acting right now. And the fact that she's more thrown off by his scent and voice than anything else. He changes the subject, pointing at the food. It's cold now. She asks if it's still edible. He deadpans, saying no, unless she wants to get sick. She should eat something else. Jaeheon wonders if he really looks like him. He doesn't think so. He knows exactly who she's talking about, and he's sure it won't happen again. He's never gotten drunk from just one bottle, so why does he feel so dizzy? Is it because of Jung Eunkyo? He recalls their conversation. He saw her notebook and asked if she was going to write something. She said she was stuck on ideas, hoping something would pop up if she skimmed through it. He apologized for reading it a little, saying it was funny. She told him it was just a messy doodle, but he still managed to read some of it. Some sentences were even written several times, like, touch me so that I can swallow you in one bite. She suddenly grabbed his arm, asking him to say it again. That line, just one more time. He frowned, asking why. Did she like his voice that much? She immediately nodded, saying it was the best. He scoffed, wondering why someone with such a bad personality had such a good voice. Was it a curse? She told him it was a compliment, saying she felt it the moment she recorded it. She begged him to do it again. He clenched his jaw, thinking she was underestimating him. Why would she say things like that? He shook his head, snapping out of it. What was he even doing? Was it the alcohol? Why was he getting so defenseless? He almost made a mistake. He needed to take another shower. His phone beeped. It was probably around 2 a.m. There was only one person who would text him at this hour. The message said they decided to come to Korea. They congratulated him. Hayda asks what she's doing. Eunkyo stirs her cup, saying she's experimenting. She heard Italians drink espresso with sugar for hangovers. Hayda scoffs. She said she wasn't feeling well, but it's a hangover. She'll pass out if she drinks that on an empty stomach. Water is better. Eunkyo frowns, saying she doesn't like sweet Americano. He sighs, saying she should have had bean sprout soup instead. She shrugs, saying she didn't even have the energy to cook. He asks how much she drank and with whom, or if she was drinking alone. She glares at him, telling him to stop interrogating her. She just needs a break. She really ought to ditch that migrant. Hayda tells her to take the day off. She says she can't since tomorrow is already her day off. He waves her off, telling her to just rest until he calls her. She sighs and says, okay. She walks to a corner, muttering to herself to stop thinking about it. It's driving her nuts. This morning, her reason for visiting Lee Jaeheon had been simple. By the time he left and she finished cleaning up, the news was talking about tropical nights. That reminded her the basement had no air conditioning. She had a spare fan, so she decided to lend it to him. He was probably sleeping down there because he returned her stuff. It's just a small favor, right? Should she just give him a brand new one from storage? He'd probably think it was payment for bringing back her notes. She still doesn't have his number. She glances downstairs, thinking he's probably there. She should just go ask him. A mix of drunkenness and unnecessary meddling, that's all it was. She goes downstairs. Maybe she shouldn't have come. She should just be quick and leave. She knocks. No response. Did he fall asleep or take a cab home? She tries the knob. The door is open. She steps inside and sees him. She should have turned around right then. Spaces and private moments, prying into them always has consequences. But then she hears him call her name. Her body refuses to move. She just stands there, frozen. Everyone has their own secrets, their own private lives. It's not a big deal. He's a grown man in his own space. She's just glad he was too engrossed to notice her. He looks pretty when he smiles, but he can also make that kind of expression. She shakes her head. She needs to stop thinking about him. But why was he calling her name? She hears customers and quickly walks back into the cafe. Jaeheon tells her he'll make the coffee, so she should bring the cake out. She nods. He adds that those customers are the tenant's friends, so she should give them some free cookies. She raises a brow, asking if that's really okay. He says sure, but he thinks the studio's empty today. They don't have air conditioning yet, so it's hard to work during the day. She nods, saying yes. She thinks to herself that she's glad he's not there. Just the thought of running into him makes her want to disappear. She says the cake is set. He says, okay, the drinks are done. He'll bring them out. She glances at her notebook, thinking that if it weren't for this, none of it would have happened. It better help her with her new work. She wonders how she used to feel when she wrote all this. She reads that line again. She once heard that doodles could reflect raw instincts in the unconscious mind. What in her past life is she craving so much? Haeda walks in and says they already have a bunch of part-timer resumes. He's going to pick 5 and hire 1 after the interviews. She stares at him, asking what? He nods, saying, yeah, they'll be working with her more often, so she has to pick. She asks if she can do it within the week. He says sure. Hyung walks up to Jaeheon, asking if he's on his way back from seeing the professor. Jaeheon says yeah, it was for a consultation. Hyung says he heard he's been working on a team project in the East for 4 days. Jaeheon nods, then asks what he's doing here. Hyung says he's also here to see the professor. He just wanted to say hi because the recording they did last time was going well. Jaeheon asks when it's coming out. Hyung says after finalizing it, maybe next month. He thanks Jaeheon, saying it's all thanks to him. Jaeheon says he shouldn't be thanking him. It was just good planning. Hyung shakes his head, saying it wouldn't have worked out if Jaeheon hadn't recommended the writer. Contacting Jung Eunkyo was a godsend. How does he even know her? Jaeheon says he just happens to know her. He thought Hyung was looking for an established writer, and well, she is one. With a best-selling book, too. Her name came to him quickly. He tells Hyung not to mention that he recommended her, though. She'd feel pressured. Hyung nods, saying, sure if that's the kind of person she is. He adds that Jaeheon should come to the movie premiere. He's inviting her too. Jaeheon says, okay, then says he'll get going now. As he walks away, he mutters that he really should thank Jung Eunkyo more. If it weren't for that favor, he wouldn't be bothering her like this. Eunkyo thinks to herself that if it's already this hot, how bad will it get in the middle of summer? Haeda must be regretting delivering it himself just because he had some free time. She hopes the air conditioning in the basement gets installed soon. Over the past few days, Lee Jaeheon hasn't shown up. That's a good thing. If she stays close to him, things will just keep happening. She needs to stop thinking about it. There's something else she should do when she has time. The bones of her synopsis feel a little weak. She'll have to play around with it more. Now that they've hired a part-timer, she'll have more time to focus on her manuscript. She starts working on her new story using old notes. It might not be that entertaining to anyone else, but at least she can write it with some happiness. It's been a long time since she felt any excitement, but this is her job. She's probably just feeling drained from working at the cafe too much. Some customers walk in. She greets them. One of them complains about the music, asking if she can play something better. She wonders if they're in the wrong place. Did they come straight from drinking? The man asks where the menu is. She smells alcohol. She tells him he can place his order at the counter. He groans, saying it's too much hassle. She barely has any customers anyway. So why doesn't she just take his order here? She repeats that he should come to the counter. The menu is right there. He suddenly shouts, telling her to just take his order. She sighs, deciding to just bring their drinks quickly. They look like the type to cause trouble if she pushes back too much. The man grins, saying he loves a good-looking girl. Even though he's busy, her size is a bit disappointing. His friend nudges him, telling him to stop before he gets arrested for harassment. The friend apologizes to Eunkyo and orders 2 iced Americanos. The man scoffs, saying it's not harassment, it's a compliment. He tells her to bring him a coffee so he can taste it first. He doesn't want to waste 5,600 won on a tiny cup. Eunkyo grits her teeth, thinking what a disgusting pervert. Guys like him are so predictable. This wouldn't be happening if Hayda was here. People like this always pick the weakest target. Being self-employed really is a struggle. She turns and suddenly sees Jaeheon standing behind her. She stares at him, asking what he's doing here. He calmly asks to borrow her apron. She blinks. What? Jaeheon walks up to the guy and tells him to put his feet down. The friend laughs awkwardly, saying he's just a little drunk. Jaeheon doesn't care. He tells both of them to place their order at the counter. The friend nods, mumbling that the boss is pretty young. Jaeheon corrects him, saying he's just an employee. She's the boss. The guy immediately apologizes to Eunkyo, saying his friend drank too much. The drunk one grumbles that he lost his appetite, says they should just leave, and stumbles out of the cafe. Jaeheon turns to Eunkyo, asking if she's in trouble because of him. He saw that guy throwing a card at her head when he was on his way to the studio. She shakes her head. Not at all. He actually helped her. He clicks his tongue, saying he was just mad. Guys like that always lack manners. Bet he's a lousy dad at home too. She laughs, thinking it's funny how his voice still sounds nice even when he's cursing. It doesn't bother her at all. He tugs at the apron, saying it's so small. She scoffs, telling him he's just too big. Look at his physique. He asks if things like that happen often. She shrugs. Not really. He frowns, saying she shouldn't be alone in the store. She tells him they're getting a part-timer soon. He raises a brow. Really? She asks herself why he's acting like this and why she keeps getting nervous around him. He leans in, asking if she has a fever. She shakes her head. No. He tilts his head. Her face is so red. She blinks, was it? Hayda walks in, stopping when he sees them. Jaeheon greets him and he nods, eyes darting between them, asking if something happened to Eunkyo. She brushes it off, saying there was just a situation with some customers anyway. Did the delivery go well? He says, yeah, but what does she mean? Was there a bad guy? She sighs, saying she doesn't want to talk about it. He can watch the CCTV later. If it weren't for Lee Jaeheon, she might have ended up at the police station today. Hayda frowns, saying he'll watch it now. She turns back to Jaeheon, asking if he's done setting up his studio. He says not yet. He's still moving furniture around. She nods. The basement must be so hot right now. They're installing the air conditioning this week? He shrugs. It's hot, but there's something he needs to do. She suddenly remembers, saying she has an extra fan. Should she lend it to him? He brightens up, saying that'd be great. He'll stop by her place to get it. Hayda suddenly shouts, asking if she got hit. He saw the customer throw the card at her head. She winces, telling him to keep his voice down. The store is still open. He glares, saying she should have thrown it back at his face instead of picking it up. She rolls her eyes, asking if she should pick the part-timer based on his physique. Lee Jaeheon helped her. He saw it too. Haeda sighs, saying that's true, then turns to Jaeheon, offering to make him some coffee. Jaeheon waves him off, saying he already drank some earlier and heads out. Eunkyo watches him leave, exhaling, saying it's been such a messy day, then suddenly calls out to Haeda, saying she thinks he should set her up with a guy. He raises a brow, asking if she's feeling lonely. She scoffs, saying it's not that. She just thinks she's feeling unsafe. He frowns. From what? She clicks her tongue, telling him not to ask. Is he going to introduce her or not? He smirks, telling her to find one on her own. He doesn't have any single male friends left. She gasps, calling him mean. She doesn't know anyone with more connections than him. He shrugs. So what? They're his friends, not hers. It's a no, and besides, he shouldn't leave her alone so much anymore. There are still shady people wandering around in broad daylight. Jaeheon says he thought the cafe was closed earlier. Is she heading up now? She nods, saying she was just tidying up. Where's he going? He says he came to borrow the fan she mentioned. She waves a hand, saying she got it as a free gift, it's brand new, and she probably won't use it, so he can just take it. He grins, saying he'll be grateful. She thinks maybe it's because he used to come over casually before, but walking home with him now feels oddly different. She has to admit it. Her worries about him are driving her crazy. This difficult feeling is uncomfortably close to excitement. She asks if he wants to wait inside, and he shakes his head, saying he's dirty. She shrugs, saying it's fine. The biggest problem is she doesn't actually hate this excitement. She tells him the fan is in storage and she'll be right back. It's not even romantic. The only things she really likes about him are his voice and his body. But if she's being honest, his personality is difficult and annoying. Lust and actual fondness are two completely different things, but she isn't sure which one her excitement is closer to. She opens the storage door, sighing at the mess. She knows she put it somewhere in here. Jaeheon peeks in, asking if she needs help. She quickly says no, she'll find it fast. She's sure it's here somewhere. She spots a box, asking if it's that one. He raises a brow. Doesn't she know? She says she put it too high. She never thought she'd need it. He sighs, telling her to wait. He thinks he can reach it. She stretches up, but the box shifts, and she almost falls. He catches her just in time. He apologizes, asking if she's okay. She nods, saying she's fine. He tells her to step back. He'll grab it since it's within his reach. He pulls the fan out, saying, "That's it. It's better to move like this, right?" He tells her to keep an eye behind him. She nods, warning that there's a box by his left foot. He says, "Okay." She tells herself not to get swayed by this kid's behavior. She refuses to be the kind of girl who can't get a grip. Whether this feeling is just desire or something else, it's a dangerous thing to show. He suddenly asks if she's always this nice. It's hard to do this for just anyone. She narrows her eyes. Is he seriously saying something like that? Does she seem easy to him? Like she'd fall for his playful attitude? She crosses her arms, saying neighbors help each other. If she actually saw him as a man, she wouldn't be helping him at all. He smirks, saying he likes the sound of that. She eyes him, saying he sweats a lot. He can use the bathroom if he needs to. She hopes that's enough to make it clear that she doesn't see him that way. He casually says he ran into Sungun at school today. She blinks. Hyung? Jaeheon nods, saying the recording turned out well, and there's a premiere coming up. They should watch it together. She glances at him, asking when it is, and moves to open the door for him. He asks Eunkyo if she really needs to be set up with a guy. She frowns and asks what he's talking about. He says he means exactly what she thinks. She wanted to be set up, right? She sighs and says yes. If there's a good person, he should just give her a name and a picture. She'll take a look and decide for herself. He nods and says he'll send her Cow's profile. She blinks in surprise, then suddenly catches the smell of alcohol on him, and asks why he's being weird and what's wrong with him lately. He shakes his head and says nothing. She narrows her eyes and asks why he looks so bad. She really hopes he's not smoking again. How much alcohol did he even drink? Did he seriously drive like this? He waves a hand and tells her to stop nagging. He took a taxi. She scoffs and says she's nagging because he looks awful. He runs a hand through his hair and asks if he can just go upstairs and sleep for 2 hours. He doesn't think he can even stand the smell of coffee right now. She tilts her head, then shrugs and says, "Sure. Does he still remember the passcode?" He nods and mutters an apology, then says he'll leave things to Sunbae before heading off. She watches him leave with a small frown and says he doesn't usually leave this easily. Maybe he really isn't feeling well. Sunbae hums in agreement, then say, since there are no customers, he'll go clean the supply room. She nods and tells him to go ahead, then picks up her phone and scowls at the screen, wondering why there's so much spam. He sees her and calls out her name. She walks over and says she brought coffee for the technicians. One of them is for Lee Jaeheon. He thanks her and calls the technicians over to grab a cup. He says he was going to return the fan, but she waves it off and tells him to keep it. He can give it back when he doesn't need it anymore. She glances at her phone and adds that Hayda is sleeping at her place right now. He's a light sleeper, and she doesn't want to wake him up by going in. She'll just take the fan tonight. He raises a brow and asks if she means the guy who owns the café. She nods and says yes. He had a bad hangover, so she told him to sleep until lunch. She tells him to take care and turns to leave, but he suddenly grabs her hand and asks if she can stop by the studio later after work. He made something for her. She blinks, then hesitates before nodding. Hayda claps his hands together and tells Eunkyo and Sunbae that they worked hard today, so he'll treat them to dinner. She immediately shakes her head and says they can go without her. She'll pass. She has a manuscript to write. He sighs and tells her she has to eat dinner anyway. She might as well do it with them. She says she'll just eat at home, then narrows her eyes at him and asks if he tidied up his blanket before coming downstairs. He rolls his eyes and says he even cleaned up her house. She raises a brow but decides to let it go and thanks him. She turns to Sunbae and tells him to take care of Hayda for her. He grins and says sure, he'll even eat her portion for her. She heads down to the basement and sighs. What exactly did Jaeheon make for her? If he bought it, she could refuse without a problem, but something handmade is trickier. Would it be rude to reject it? But why does she even care? She taps her fingers against her thigh and mutters that she'll just see what it is first. Though, if she's being honest, she's a little curious. She stands in front of the door and knocks, reminding herself not to make the same mistake as last time. He tells her to come in. She steps inside, sighing that she's either going to make some ramen or just sleep since she's exhausted. She looks around and says the studio looks cool. He tells her to wait. He's almost done. He explains that it's a 3D printer, he upgraded it when he moved, and he was thinking about what to make for the first time when he remembered her. He hands it to her, saying it's a paperweight. He uses it to press books. He noticed she had a lot of books in her garbage before so that she could use them as decoration. She pauses, wondering if it's because it's been a while since she received a gift. She thanks him and frowns, saying she doesn't know what to do in return. He shrugs, saying he's already received a lot. The fan, the shower room. She scoffs, pointing out that she told him to come shower, but he never did. The fan was just a reward for helping with rude customers. He stretches and says he's going to do it today. She blinks, asking what he means. He repeats himself and tilts his head, asking if the cafe owner is still at her place. She quickly shakes her head, saying Hayda already left. He nods, saying he'll be quick. She stares as he walks off, gripping the paperweight tighter. Is he really about to take a shower at this hour? Her heart feels like it's going to explode. How can he be so nonchalant? It's weirdly unfair. This is exactly why she realized she'd rather just have a real relationship. She clears her throat and glances at his workspace, saying there's still a lot to clean up. He glances back and says he was just testing something. She eyes the objects around him and asks if it's similar to the one he gave her. He smirks, saying not really. It's just a toy. kind of a joke among the guys. She frowns, asking what kind of joke. He shrugs, saying it's for stress relief. She narrows her eyes, saying he's not serious. He grins, saying he's not lying. It's just for fun. Does she want one? She scoffs, saying no. He laughs, saying then, let's go upstairs. He wants to take that shower. Jaeheon is taking a shower. He recalls when Eunkyo told him that Haeda was sleeping at her house, and he recalls the whole conversation. He thinks that Kim Haeda is insane, so he gets mad and pushes himself to Jung Eunkyo because of him. He's been holding back all this time, yet he feels the urge. He thinks to himself that it's really driving him crazy. It takes him back to 10 years ago. She didn't even recognize him. Well, she never changed since then. But he did. He receives a text from his dad telling him his birthday is coming up and asking if there's anything he wants. He says if he has nothing in mind, a car will be sent to him. It's time to get a new one. He thinks to himself that's a pretentious way of speaking. His dad adds that he should come see his sometimes. That isn't something that happens between son and dad. Jaeheon thinks that it's been a while since he changed his name to Lee. But he's still Seo after all. His father doesn't know that he chose to live with his mom when he divorced her because of his high-handedness, although he didn't expect to have an older brother from his mom's remarriage. He thinks to himself that Jung Eunkyo must be getting ready for work now. He recalls what she said. He got caught. He's a flirt. He doesn't feel bad about being caught. He rather feels pleased because she'd being to look at him. Their female lead thinks to herself that the rain won't stop. She thinks she's been mopping for the 12th time already. It's not like that they don't have a lot of customers. The good thing is either the weather is good or bad, they'd still have a lot of customers. She sees Jaeheon walking in. She thinks to herself that because they're seeing each other again, she should talk about what happened last night, then a lady at one table calls him. Eunkyo thinks to herself that they should do it again next time when it's quiet. Suntae says, "No wonder, it looks like they're waiting for someone." He asks if Jaeheon is the owner of the basement, and she says he's right. He says he's guessing one of them is his girlfriend, the one with styled hair. She asks, "Who knows?" Suntae says they look perfect together. At least she seems to like the guy, and the basement guy has a sweet look in his eyes. He asks her if they look good together. She says he's right. Jason walks up to them and says he'd like an iced Americano, please, for takeout. Haeda comes and says 1 free drink per day. He should go back to his seat. He'll bring them to him. He replies that he doesn't have to do that since he's got the air conditioning. Haeda says that's definitely the responsibility for the owner of the building to do, and providing drinks is the benefit. Jaeheon says, no, he's totally paying for it. Eunkyo says she'll take the order. Instead, they'll give him a cake for free. She tells Suntae to set the cake. He replies and says, okay. He tells Jaeheon that he can share it with his girlfriend. They were just talking about how much they look good together. He replies and asks if that. So, the female lead asks if he's okay with melon cake for the cake. He replies and says he asked her if that's right. Eunkyo asks, what? She said she'll give him some free cake. Jaeheon says not that one, but who should he eat the cake with? She says his friends. Suntae asks if that isn't his girlfriend. He's sorry. The female lead asks herself why he's causing such scene at the counter like this. She says it's been quite for a while ago. They already ordered 2 drinks while they were waiting, so she thought she'd be nice to them. A cake? Jaeheon laughs and walks away. Haeda curses at him. The female lead turns to Haeda. She says about the guy he sent her last night. She thinks the third guy is the best. He says she didn't give him an answer yesterday. She apologizes and says she feels asleep because she was tired. About the third guy. Is he a nice guy? He says he knows nothing about love, but all his friends are nice people. Is she sure she wants to meet them? She stares at Jaeheon and his friends. She tells Haeda yes. They should give it a try. He says, okay. He'll set an appointment. She says she'll set the drinks and cake for them. He says okay. Meanwhile, Suntae asks himself if they're having a bad day. Eunkyo sets the drinks and cake on their table. One of the lady thanks her for the cake. The lady asks Jaeheon if he could take them around to his studio after eating that. The other lady says he must be busy. She replies and says why. She said she was curious too. The female lead looks at her and thinks to herself that she's pretty, maybe in her early 20s. Jaeheon says they should go. He'll show them around the studio. The ladies are excited. The female lead tells them to leave the plates behind. They thank her for the meal and says they're leaving. The female lead thinks to herself that she's pretty everywhere. Sunbae says, since it's raining, could they have some magyoli and paejeon for dinner tonight? Haeda says he'd better eat with his friends. He and Eunkyo lose passion when it rains. Sunbae asks if they have low blood pressure, and he replies that perhaps so and says that's why they both look sluggish today. The female lead says he's right. It's probably due to the weather. The female lead asks herself if it's because it's been raining all day. She feels a bit serene. Well, sometimes this kind of feeling could help her writing anyway. She tells herself not to break the flow and write some more before she goes home. She sees Shikar outside. She thinks it's Lee Jaehyun's. He hasn't gone home yet. She asks herself if he was with his friends during the day, and she scolds herself for thinking about him again. There is a semi-impulsive side inside her. She asked Haeda to set her up with a guy because she wanted to make sure she wasn't under Lee Jaehyun's influence, but what she's really craving for is someone's warmth. Literally, she's been living without regard for loneliness till dopamine called Lee Jaehyun woke her up. Though the excitement she felt for this rude man was something that other people could also feel as well, that should be proof that her interest in him was a spurious excitement fueled by shallow loneliness. She tells herself that's it. She just has to set it calmly like this. Her latest synopsis she sent to the publisher was also passed. It looks like she picked the best part-timer indeed. She's also decided to fill out the course Professor Seo mentioned last time, so she'll be going to see him. Everything was going smoothly. Now it's just a matter of moving forward without worrying about anything. Then she sees Jaeheon standing outside. She tells him that it's closed. If he sees the door locked, he should know they're closed. She goes to the door and tells him that the cafe is closed. He tells her not to worry. He isn't there for coffee. She asks why he's there. How about his friends? He says he's sure they're somewhere out there. She thinks to herself that he doesn't seem to have any intention of hiding his personality from her anymore. Wears the kind of mask he uses in front of others. He asks how her day is going. She says she's been working. Raining days means having plenty of customers and mopping floors. Why did he ask? He says nothing. He was wondering if she feels lonely today. She says the conversation is too sloppy. Young kids seem to be liking that. He says he's not sure he's ever been into such things before. She thinks to herself, that's another lie. She says she told him she didn't want to let him in. She admits that he's quite nice and catchy and he's young, even too young for her, so he should meet another girl his age. She says that's her answer and asks if he has anything to say. He asks if she's saying there's no problem with anyone but the one younger than her. She says she doesn't get his answer, but they should say it this way. It's a bit too much for her to be dating someone younger. He says he didn't tell her it's dating, so she shouldn't feel so burdened over it. Perhaps it's because he said he liked her. He asks why she's so cute, and they say she likes to keep things light, but he guesses it isn't true. She's scared because her feelings have begun to grow even more now. She asked herself if she was scared. The pounding heartbeat sound was hers. It's not like she's scared. Why was he working so hard on her? What does he like about her? Her appearance might be something else, or it's just his unfounded curiosity. He starts moving closer to her. She tells him to stop and asks what if someone sees them. He asks if that matters now. She asks if she isn't the boss that owns the cafe. He laughs and sits down. He writes his number and tells her to take it. He asks if it isn't unfair that they've kissed, but she doesn't even know his phone number, and it's harmful anyway. It's late. They could be someone dangerous around. It's better if she goes home now, or she knows she's always welcome at his studio. She thinks to herself that there's no way she can go down now that she has rejected him. She won't save his number either. She's not interested in any useless conversation with him. She didn't want to go home because she didn't want to break her flow. After all that she wishes she did. What's happening to her? Is it because of his expression? There must be so many masks he wears that she hasn't seen yet. Whatever it is, she doesn't think it has anything to do with her. Jaeheon thinks to himself that she won't come. Even if she told her to come to the basement, the Jung Eunkyo of now would never open this door. She did with such expression a decade ago, on the way from school near the end of winter. The woman he saw in front of her house was one of his father's many students at university. Usually, those who got called to their house were good and eager students. It was unfair that she also had to suffer my high-handed father's hateful and egotistic behavior. Like many before her, she rang the doorbell teary-eyed for what was to come. He stands there wondering why she's so sad. It was just his innocent curiosity at first. Nothing more. Unlike the other girls her age, she doesn't have any makeup on. Her face red even to the top of her nose. She's so pretty. Pretty enough to make him fall for her at first sight. Shortly after his head was filled with Jung Eunkyo, at a point where his adolescence was beginning, he had a terrible desire that could not be revealed. She came home every day and endured his father's abuse just to see her. He'd been at home more than ever before. After a few months, Jung Eunkyo never came to visit his father again, and after a sudden falling out, his parents filed for divorce. Jaeheon decided to live with his mother, which kept him even farther from the female lead. Like most cases of love at first sight, he thought he could also forget his love that was strange, pathetic, yet enchanting. Until he finally met her again as Lee Do-yeon's lover, the son of an uncle who remarried his mother. Jaeheon looks outside and sees that it's morning already. Meanwhile, Eunkyo is on a call with Hyung. He tells her not to be late for the premiere. The movie came out really well. She says, okay, she's getting ready to leave now. He says she should come with Lee Jaeheon. He said he was going to take her. She recalls their conversation about it. He asks what it is. He thought they were close enough, don't they keep in touch with each other? She asks herself what he means by that. Father dumping his phone number that day? She's tried to avoid meeting him as much as possible. She has no choice but to meet Jaeheon for the premiere. She walks out and sees him. He says it's been a while. It's been a while since they last met. The female lead asks if he waited for her. He says yes. He's going with her. He tells her to get in. She thinks to herself that this wouldn't have happened if they just went separately. There's no time for useless thoughts. She asks if he would like a coffee before they go. He says, okay. Hayda tells her not to stay out too late and drink responsibly. She calls him a nagging fellow and thanks him for the coffee. Oh, and tomorrow. He tells her to take some rest. He'll fill in for her on her day off so she could have a good time. She asks what's wrong with him. Did he suddenly grow up out of the blue? He says it's a bit of employee welfare, so she should hurry and go. She asks herself what's wrong with Hayda. He's acting a bit weird. Is there anything wrong? Jaeheon says they should go. If they're too late, Jung won't stop nagging them. She says, okay. Flashback. Hayda asks him what he's doing over the phone. Jaeheon asks him what he's so made over first thing in the morning. Hayda asks who he thinks he is. Why did he do with Jung Eunkyo last night? He replies that he guessed the CCTV installed in the cafe was for personal surveillance. He says he just checked because she slept in the cafe's supply room yesterday. Why did he visit her this time? He told him not to mess around with her. Jaeheon tells him to stop shouting, he didn't get much sleep and now he's making it worse. He replies and asks if he forgot why he gave him the studio. He says, of course not. Flashback to before he gave him the studio, they're in a bar. Hayda says he wishes he could get rid of the trash in the basement. He replies that if he wants to, why doesn't he just throw it away? He says he can't without Eunkyo's permission. Jaeheon asks, what if they make a situation where they have no choice but to clean the place up? He replies, and asks how. He says he'll move in there. He just happened to be looking for a studio. He explains that if a tenant comes into YH's basement, they'll have no choice but to clean it up right. If she doesn't think she can do it herself, they can handle it themselves. Hayda says that's a good idea. Does the tenant have to be him? He's Lee Do-hyun's younger brother after all. Jaeheon says he doesn't need to tell her that, and he knows what's going on, so it'll be easier for him to talk to Hyung. To be honest, he wants to help her. It's been so long that she can't remember it. She was his father's favorite student, and even if he was his stepbrother, it was still him who caused this. Wouldn't there be no problem? They both pretended not to know. And a flashback from the bar. Jaeheon says in the end, all the trash he didn't want to see was thrown out. He replies and asks why he keeps buzzing around her like a fly. He asks how he is to take care of her like that. It's not normal for him to check the cameras because she's sleeping in the supply room. Is it? Haida asks if he doesn't know about him and her. He replies that they're just friends, right? But Eunkyo is the only one who thinks that he's a friend. He asks what? Jaeheon says he'll be honest about what happened. At first, it was just his curiosity, but the day he talked with her, he fell in love with her, so he's going to keep sticking around her, and he has no reason to listen to him. It's not like he's her boyfriend or even intends to confess to her. It's him who hasn't done anything since he's too afraid it could ruin their friendship. Not even the right kind of friend. He can guess what kind of guys he introduced to her. They probably all resembled Lee Do-yoon to remind her of the bad feeling and make her reject them herself. Jaeheon warns him not to try to break the relationship. He just needs to continue wearing the mask of friendship. He receives a text from his dad saying he's sending the car. It'll be there soon. Also, he shouldn't bring his mom on his birthday so they can have a meal together. He responds that he'll do that. He thinks to himself that he's sure Eunkyo got a call about the premiere. She didn't go home or come to his basement, and she didn't show up in the messenger. So he guessed she didn't add his phone number. And a flashback. He says he thinks he pushed too hard. He knows she sees him as a kid, but when he saw it in person, he was a little upset. The he fell in love at first sight thing is real. She asks, when was that first sight? He says it doesn't matter. Even if she was on of the people crossing the road, he would have fallen in love. She asks herself why he's talking like that now. She says he's right. Anyone can fall in love at first sight. Honestly, she didn't think he loved her. She thought he just wanted to be intimate with her once. She thinks to herself that she almost said she was a tratty him when they first met in the recording studio. He won't even respond. Did she treat him harshly? She says she thinks it's that building. He tells her to remember where they parked in case she gets lost. She thinks to herself that she guesses he'll take her home too, if she says it's okay. She asks him how he hurt his hand. He says he cut himself. It was a dangerous job, but he wasn't careful. Jaeheon says he got about 5 stitches and he's going to get them checked out tomorrow. Eunkyo asks him when he got hurt. He says on the rainy day when they talked. They never saw each other after that when he was healing. He says they're there, they should start going. She asks herself if that day he was waiting for her to come down. Hyung welcomes them. He says they should go in quickly. They're going to have the premiere, and after that, the business presentation. He tells them to have some fun at the afterparty. He shows them their seats. He tells them that they've got a stage bow, so they shouldn't run away. Hyung is called to the stage, so he starts leaving and tells them to enjoy the show. The female lead thinks to herself that there are quite a lot of people. Most of them are investors. And people in the film industry, right? She spots Jaeheon. He looks like a fancy peacock. He stands out everywhere. Such a strong presence without even trying. Hyung is on the stage. He says they all know the project is for the visually impaired, so he'd like to thank everyone who donated their talent. Jaeheon says there are more people than he thought. She says she knows and asks if he's going to say hi to fans and stage. He asks if she doesn't like it. She says it's hectic enough. Hyung says the she will soon start. The female lead says she doesn't like to draw too much attention. Jaeheon says she should run away if she'd like. She asks what. They hear his voice recording saying, I pray that you'll love me because I do. He says his voice is no joke, right? He asks if it's okay to hear his voice this loud. She tells herself to breathe. Her heart is going to explode. Is it because his voice is echoing in the place? She's shaking because of that. He asks why she's shaking. She pulls away. He holds her face and she tells him to stop. He kisses her. He tells her that she's bleeding. She asks what's wrong with him. No matter how hard she pushes him, she can't even get mad at him for overstepping anymore. Why does he keep pushing her into situations she can't handle? He says with the look he's giving him, Why won't he act like that? She tells him not to do it there. He says they should go outside to the car. He pulls her to the car. She tells him to wait. There's something that they should do. He asks if she knows what he was thinking when he recorded that. He was thinking of what he should do with her. He thought he wanted to rap it on her face. She looked at him like he wanted to kiss her, that he thought she was in love with him. He asks if she's getting angry because he's pushing her further. She needs to take some initiative too. He says she's the one who looked at him with those eyes because she liked his voice that much. She has to take responsibility too. They're almost intimate, but Jaeheon's phone rings. She says she thinks he'll keep calling them. They should get back for now. He says she should give him some time. She says okay. She'll talk to him about today later. She won't avoid him, so he shouldn't act dramatic. Hyung thanks everyone for their help and tell them to please enjoy it as much as he's worked hard. Eunkyo spots Jaeheon. She asks herself if he's back to wearing that mask again. She'd be lying if she said the kissing wasn't satisfying. She's never seen a man like that in her life before. She tells herself that if she's flattered by things like that, then she hasn't grown up yet. She watches as he goes into the road. Is it unfair for her to feel jealous? Hyung sees her and asks what she's doing there. She says she's tired and asks if she can go first. He says it hasn't been long since she came and she says she has work to do. He tells her that Jaehyun's birthday is tomorrow. She should at least see the celebration before she goes. She asks what? He asks if she didn't know. She says no. He didn't tell her. He says he thought they were close since they came together. Hyung says he's surprised he didn't tell her, but it seems he's a bit reserved and doesn't like to talk about himself too much. He doesn't truly know about him. Someone calls the director's attention and asks about Jaeheon. Meanwhile, the female lead starts going. She thinks to herself that since he isn't there, can she just go home? She asks if she should at least tell him happy birthday before she leaves. She thinks to herself that this place is even more hectic than the second floor. Then she bumps into someone. The guy asks him what he's doing. Why is he acting so awkward? He's not supposed to feel awkward at a place like this because he's been gone for 3 years. The man calls him Lee Do-hyun. It was Lee Do-hyun's birthday 4 years ago. When it exceptionally rained hard, he said he'd be back after his meeting with his friends at a cafe they often visited. Eunkyo waited for a boyfriend who would never be returning. Every chance to make up kept getting pushed back. At some point, he didn't even call her. She feels like she's become a tragic heroine in a movie. From they say, she started to feel a faint rift in their relationship. It didn't take too long for the faint cracks to become even clearer. Lazily repeated mistakes. Constantly out of touch with promises to meet. The times they met gradually reduced. She's hear about him from others more often than from him. Even though she knew he was making a fool out of her, she pretended because it used to be so good. She thinks she liked him so much. The female lead asks herself why she's thinking about the past now. Is it because today is Lee Jaehyun's birthday? She would have just gone home right away. She looks around and sees it's not the front store. She's not the kind of person to get lost so easily. What happened? She checks if the car is still there. As expected, she's doing something useless, waiting for someone and not knowing when they'll come. She hates it. Jaeheon calls her. She turns back and tells him happy birthday. He looks shocked. She explains that she found out his birthday because Hyung told her. She just wanted to congratulate him. She asks if he drank. How is he going to drive? He asks since when she has been there. She says it hasn't been long. She was about to go home, but she thought... He asks why she didn't call him or something. She says she heard that no matter how much the staff called him, he won't even answer. He says that's because he didn't recognize the number. Didn't she save the number that day? She thinks to herself that she can't say she threw it away. She says the tissue was a bit wet so she couldn't see it clearly. And there is no number written in his car, he says. Of course. He hits the car and his phone starts ringing. He says she should have done that. She says she didn't know that. She asks herself who would have thought hitting a car would call the owner. He says she should make sure she does it next time. He asks if he can misunderstand it. She asks, misunderstand what? He says that her affection and concern is a sign of interest in him. He says he's gotten a substitute. He'll take her home. She says he should just go home. She'll take a taxi home. He says they should go together. She says if he stops by to take her, it will be too late. He looks tired, so he'd better just... He says he doesn't want to. He just wants to be with her. She asks why did he disappear from the club. He says a relative told him that they were nearby. He says he went back to the club, but he couldn't find her. He was annoyed by the birthday drink back there. His head was spinning, wondering what kind of men were trying to trick her. He knew she has a weakness for such thing. She says there was no man to be with her, but Jaeheon was the one out with some girls. He asks with who he was all alone. She says he wouldn't lie. She's seen it all. He asks what. There were so many people, and he's the only one she saw. Someone knocks the door. The person says it's a chauffeur service. She asks him if he called the chauffeur. He says yes. The chauffeur says he'll confirm the address. Dong 211-5. Is that the Hayda cafe? He replies and says yes. He says okay. They're leaving. Eunkyo asks if they're planning on going to the basement from the start. Jaeheon says no. He was going to find her from the start. She asks if he's going to talk informally now. He says no. Lee Do-hyun thinks to himself that he's not there. Where would he be? It's his car. The basement is his studio, so he should be around there. The first floor is a cafe. The second floor is a family house. He sees the cafe name Kim Haeda, Lee Jaeheon, and Jung Eunkyo. If it's a coincidence, then it's too bad. What kind of relationship does Eunkyo even have with Lee Jaeheon? After a night of letting herself go, what will she do next? It feels like she's balancing on a tightrope. Could this uncertainty lead to a relationship? They're intimate. He says he's going to wash up, and if she opens the door, he won't let her off easily. She says she needs to wash up as well. She's going first. He thinks to himself that he finally caught her. He's going to make sure she'll never forget his face. She says she thinks he's really crazy. He thinks to himself that it took so long to make her look excited. It would have been even harder to catch up to her if she hadn't been stuck for 3 years. He still has a long way to go. He's just getting to the starting lines. It's so early to start sprinting. He receives a notification from his car with a picture. His friend asks him what he has been looking for since earlier. Lee Do-hyun says he thinks he saw Eunkyo here. He replies and asks who. He says yes, but Jung-hoon. Why would she be in the same place as his little brother? Jaeheon switches off the light. The female lead asks if it's a blackout. He says he'll take care of it. She should slip and get hurt. She should stay in the bathroom. She asks if he wants to check the fuse. It's near the shoe rack. He says he doesn't think there's anything wrong with the fuse. He'll check the building's circuit breaker outside, so she shouldn't come out. But he'd like her to come out, though. She says she's not coming out. He thinks to himself that she's been tied up at home for a while. Then he gotta get rid of Lee Do-hyun. Jaeheon asks him what brings him there. He thought he went home from the club. He replies that the club wasn't really fun, just as he'd said. He asks if he has to visit the club even though he said it won't be fun. Do-hyun says he thought he hid something fun again. He sees he's still doing this bizarre job. Jaeheon asks why he's in his studio. He replies that come to think of it, it's his birthday. He wanted to wish him in person. Wasn't the last one too short in front of Dad and Auntie? He says he would have just said it at the club then, as he knows he'd get him dropping by his studio. That's so rude. Do-hyun says he looked quite busy. Is he popular with girls? He's become cooler. His body has gotten a lot better too. That's news to see. He was worried as he was so skinny and short back then. Jaeheon asks if that's so. His body changed because he's been working hard on it consistently. It's been 3 years, but his brother hasn't changed at all. Do-hyun thanks him and says, now he knows how to work hard too. Haven't he grown so well? By the way, there was an unfamiliar car parked in his house parking lot. Isn't that his? Looks nice. Is it a gift from the professor too? Jaeheon thinks to himself that he went to his home too. He says he can have it. Dohyun says his dad seems to be a very nice person. He even brought a foreign car for a student who's still so young, but he already so much. Still, he wants to take what's his. Jaeheon says he's not sure. Isn't his brother the one that has everything? He's still broke. He replies and asks if he doesn't have anything to say to him. He says he has no idea what he's talking about. Dohyun says he knows. Kim Haeda and him. All coincident, right? For some reason back then. He thinks to himself that there's no change in his expression, nothing to catch on for now. He tells him not worry. Why is he doubting his amazing little brother? He'll enjoy the car. He was thinking about getting one after getting back to Korea 2 days ago, but thanks to him, his worries are gone. They should see each other often, and also at his age, hanging out with kids from the club suits him better. Anyways, he should enjoy his life. He's leaving. Jaeheon asks if there's nothing for him. He didn't give him a present as he came empty-handed. Rather, he's taking one from him. Well, thanks anyway. Also, he hopes he won't come to his studio out of the blue in the future. It doesn't matter if he's his brother. They say someone who doesn't know anything about art yaps the most. Jaeheon asks himself if Dohyun noticed anything. He's glad that he didn't get to meet Eunkyo as she left the club early. He goes to the fuse and sees the female lead there. He says he told her to stay in the bathroom. She asks where he has been. She didn't come out and the lights were still out. She thought she'd try doing something. She asks if the electricity is back because he fixed the circuit breaker. He says it didn't work earlier. He guessed it was a brief problem. She asks if he smoked earlier. She didn't like the smell. He says it's the smell and he didn't like it either. He carries her over his shoulder and says they should wash up again. She says she's going out. Jaeheon is playing with the rabbit figurine, and then Eunkyo sits up. He asks if she's up. She says yes, and asks what's the time now. She asks if it's already past 1:10 p.m. He says it's around noon. She thinks to herself that she's done. She was going to send him back before going to work. He says she promised to go with him to the hospital today, and asks if she wants to go to the bookstore after that. He has a book to get. She says, okay. As they go downstairs, they see a tense Hayda standing at the door. He tells her to make sure she calls her blind date personally to cancel the date, and tells Jaeheon to follow him for a second. She tries to explain that they only drank together and passed out. She thinks to herself that he's not going to fall for such excuse, is he? Should she just tell Hayda that he's not dating Lee Jaeheon? These kinds of situations are so exhausting. He enters the car. She asks him what Hayda said. He says it's just obvious nagging. She thinks to herself that Hayda is acting like a guardian when he's not even a dad yet. Has taking care of her become his habit now? He couldn't help but end up feeling responsible for his friend. The doctors tells him that the stitches have been removed. He should be mindful of the hand today. He can take off the bandage tomorrow. Jaeheon thanks him and walks out. Eunkyo asks him what the doctor said. Did it heal well? The bandage is quite big. He's sure the cut wasn't pretty bad. She hopes it doesn't leave a scar. He recalls what happened on the shower this morning. He says the doctor said it healed well. Is she hungry? He'll treat her for following him to the hospital. She says she's the one who should treat him. He's a student and she's a working adult. He thinks to himself that she's treating him like a child again. He says it's true that he's a student, but he's an expensive artist in his field. It's on him today. She thinks to herself that from the paperweight he made that time, he surely is talented. He asks if they should eat meat, looking back at yesterday. She looks very light. He thinks it'd be nice if she could get a little healthier. She says she was born like that. That's why she envies women with nice bodies. He says he loves her body especially. She cuts him off and says they should eat meat. She asks herself what racy things he was going to say in public again. He says she knows a place with delicious meat. She asks if it's close. He says they'll be there by car in no time. Dohyun walks into the café. Suntae welcomes him, and Hayda is shocked to see him. Dohyun says it's been a while. Eunkyo thinks to herself that the book has been a bestseller for years. Of course it was pushed to the end corner after so much time. Looking at it now, it seems like an outdated book with tacky humor, but it was quite a courageous piece at that time. Jaeheon asks her if she's going to buy the book in her hand. If not, does she mind if he takes it? She asks what? She'll give him one. She has a few at home. He says he does want hers. He's going to make a cold assessment, so he has to pay for it. She says he shouldn't go that far. It'll hurt her feelings. She asks herself if he hasn't read his book. He asks how would he dare to hurt her. She shouldn't worry. He wouldn't be able to even bear such a sight. He walks to the counter to pay for the books. She says she'll pay for her book. He says he has already paid with his card. Hayda says he'll serve this customer coffee. Suntae asks if he knows him. He's such a looker with unique vibes. Hayda thinks to himself that, of course, he knows him, Jung Eunkyo's ex-boyfriend. He asks him what he's doing there. What business does he have there? Dohyun says his words are too bluntly hurtful. He's glad to see him too. Hayda says it's been a while he last saw him, but he hasn't changed, has he? He replies that the cafe is sophisticated and nice. He's a successful CEO, isn't he? He says it's time he finds a way for himself. Dohyun asks if Eunkyo lives there. Haeda thinks to himself that he's going to the straight-to-the-point He says no. He replies and asks if she works there. He asks what he's doing showing up after 3 years and why he's asking these types of questions. Dohyun says he's asking because there's no way he doesn't know what's going on in Eunkyo's life, as she's the only person who has been clinging to her side for all these years. He also asks why Lee Jaeheon got a place here for his studio. Hayda replies and says he should ask his brother directly. He needed a tenant, and Jaeheon seemed to be looking for a place to rent. Dohyun asks if that was also his brother's plan. Hayda says he has no idea about the nonsense he's yapping about, but more importantly, is his child growing up well? The kid's about 3 years old now, right? Perhaps he's just turned 2. Dohyun says the child wasn't his. It was all a scam. What lowlife made up such a rumor? He also doesn't remember being intimate with the girl that day. He knows very well why he can't remember that, right? Well, he just considers it a life lesson, thanks to him. However, he's just worried about Eunkyo, who got hurt unintentionally because of all that nonsense. Who knows if the people who manipulated his memories are still clinging to Eunkyo? Hayda asks what he's talking about. He shouldn't act like he's the victim. The female lead doesn't know about that matter, so he'd better watch his damn mouth. Also, he has nothing else to say but those things after appearing out of the blue now. If he dares to hurt the female lead again, he's going to do something drastic. Dohyun says he must be so scared that he's even making threats. He says he didn't have any plans to interfere just yet. She is just so sensitive, so he'll be careful in approaching her so she doesn't get too shocked. Hayda asks him if he's high on drugs. Even if that's not the case, he was always normal, but he's going too low today by showing up here. Dohyun says he understands that she must be hurting a lot. There wasn't even a phone call between them. However, they never broke up. Hayda gets really angry. Dohyun says the coffee was delicious. He has chosen the right career path for himself. He'll see him again, and he should please take care of the female lead. He'll visit again soon. Hayda says the female lead almost died when he suddenly disappeared like that. Her heart was shattered into pieces. He barely managed to put her together, so he shouldn't dare this time, because he might really make him disappear forever this time. Dohyun just walks away. Hayda thinks to himself that Dohyun really hasn't changed a bit. A deceptive appearance hiding a blackened, shady heart. He cares only about himself, and he's no different from him. Lee Jaeheon is just like them. What are the odds that they're all entangled with the same person? In the past, Dohyun won Eunkyo, and in the last few years, Hayda has been the one by her side. So now is it Lee Jaeheon? Suntae asks if he needs a short break. He'll take care of the counter. Hayda apologizes for making him worry. He replies that the guy must have done something wrong earlier, or else would he have reacted like that for no reason? Hayda says, okay. He'll go out the back and come inside shortly. He walks to the back. He tells himself not to be swayed by anything now. What's more important for him now is to make sure Eunkyo no longer gets hurt. He just needs to keep his feelings hidden so that she can live without ever feeling burdened. To be someone who will cherish and be by her side for years to come, he has decided to name his relationship with her as friendship. Eunkyo thinks to herself that it's been years since she graduated, but not much has changed on campus. She asks herself if Lee Jaeheon would be on campus right now. A campus filled with the same summer scents. The place where her younger self used to be is now the place where Jaeheon exists. Such a weird feeling. After removing his stitches, she's been seeing him almost every day. In the middle of his work, without hesitation, he keeps showing up to take showers. She recalls when he comes over. Maybe it's a good thing that they've never really done anything intimate together. Though the relationship has crossed the line too far, she's not sure if there are deeper feelings shared by their hearts. If she really had to name the relationship, she recalls telling him it's just an intimate relationship. She thinks to herself that they're filled with desire now, crushing on each other, but there's no future to be expected out of this relationship anyway. It's like the sudden showers, just passing by for a moment. She goes to the professor's door and greets Professor Seo. He says she hasn't changed at all. She says neither has he. He says she was just a kid coming to their house not long ago. He has seen her work. It was good. She thanks him. She thinks to herself that it's the first time he's ever complimented her writing so openly. What has gotten into him? He says she must be busy too, so he won't take up much of her time. She asks if his preparations for the classes starting next semester are going well. He says yes. Well, many students are looking forward to it. Actually, calling her in was also a request from the students. He says she's a talented young writer. They want to learn from someone who has made it to the bestseller list at least once. The real deal. It could be a good experience for her too. She thanks him and thinks to herself that he seems to have gotten softer over the years. Or maybe it's just that he has a different attitude towards his students and colleagues. She asks how everyone in his family is. He says they've been well. His son has already returned from military service. She asks, "Really?" She remembers how young he was when she met him at his house back then. He asks how he grew up so fast. He might even get married soon. Who knows? She says it's all thanks to his good efforts in raising him decently. It's really amazing. He says she's making him shy. Anyway, the class will start next semester after vacation, so she should prepare well. That's long enough time for her to get ready. She says yes, she'll work hard. He starts to mention the topic for her lecture, but she cuts in and says she'll get going now. He says they can have a meal together next time. She says okay, and starts leaving. As she's walking, she sees Lee Jaehyun. She tries to ask why he's there, but he asks her the same question. She says she came to see her professor. She's supposedly teaching a class next semester. He asks if it's the course everyone's been going crazy over and trying to get enrolled in. She says, "What? It's not my course then." He asks if someone who writes and works at a cafe has time to give lectures. She asks herself why it seems like he's picking a fight. She says she'll try her best. But why is he there? He says he heard kids gossiping about seeing the female owner of Café Hayda on campus. She knows how fast rumors spread. She asks herself who exactly saw her there. The Azalea Hall corridor is pretty long. How did someone come across her? She watches as a young lady runs up to Jaeheon, saying she hasn't seen his face in a while. The lady asks Jaeheon if he quit the club. Jihoon also said it's been hard to see him lately. He says he's been busy. The female lead thinks to herself that it's the girl from that time at the cafe. His other friends surround him, calling his name. Eunkyo thinks to herself that seeing him in moments like this is a reality check. They belong to two different worlds. She should leave immediately. She says she'll be going now. Meanwhile, the others whisper and ask where they've seen her before. Jaehyun holds her and says they should go together. She says she's in a hurry to get back to the cafe. He should continue hanging out with his friends. One of his friends suddenly remembers where she knows the female lead from. She's the one from Café Hayda. She asks if she's there to make a delivery. Eunkyo says they can come visit the cafe sometime. She thinks to herself that no matter where he goes, people just can't help but gather around him. But of course, it's only natural for him to be with friends his age. She has thought about this before. He looks so much better with bright, pretty girls his age rather than someone bland and worn out like her, stuck in their shitty reality. Someone soft and fresh, like a budding sprout in spring, would be better. However, there's this thought lingering in the back of her mind. If it's Lee Jaehyun nevertheless? Having all these complicated, conflicting thoughts is the real problem. Maybe she just doesn't want to deal with these unfamiliar, awkward feelings. She realizes she zoned out and ended up in the central square instead of the campus main gate. She tells herself to get a grip. A young lady walks up to her and asks if she's from the deduction club. Right now, they're trying to adjust the difficulty level of their quizzes. Could she please help with the testing just once? The female lead asks, "What?" The young lady says yes. After solving the quiz, she has to solve the maze puzzles in a single stroke. They're trying to set the difficulty level for these, but honestly, they don't have a clue. She replies, "If it's just for a minute." The young lady thanks her and asks if she likes puzzles. One of the spectators says, "They're gonna be hard though. Can a regular person really solve these?" But she gets it right. Eunkyo asks, "It's the one-stroke maze, right?" "I have to reach the exit point in a single try." She thinks to herself that the quiz was easy, but solving the maze in one stroke seems a little hard. She says she thinks she'll fail at this level of difficulty. Then Jaeheon walks up behind her and says, "It doesn't even look like a puzzle. It's way too easy." One of the spectators asks if she made this puzzle. She should at least adjust the difficulty level. Jaeheon says they should come on. He's been looking for her everywhere. She says she's just helping them out a bit. The young lady says that's right. She's been a big help to them, and they'll give her a gift too. Eunkyo says it's all right. She doesn't have to give her anything. She thinks to herself that she shouldn't tell her that the gift is that big teddy bear she's staring at. Jaehyun asks if she's doing all this because she wants the teddy. She says it's not that, Jaehyun tells Song Ji-hoon to raise the difficulty level of these quizzes, then asks what he has to do to take the prize. She says she doesn't need any. Ji-hoon asks if he's talking about the top prize. He explains that they're going to record everyone's time, and the quickest person will get a call after the festival as the winner. Jaehyun asks, what if he wants to take it now? Ji-hoon replies, "Seriously? The festival hasn't even started yet." Eunkyo thinks to herself that they must be quite close. She thought he only acted with such unbothered coolness in front of others, but he knows how to sulk and pester his friends like this. She thinks it's cute. Ji-hoon gives her a quiz. He says it's the hardest one yet. If she solves it right away, he'll give her the plushie himself. Jaehyun asks if she wants that one. She says she doesn't really need it. Jaehyun tells her to think of it like this. She's got a customer to serve at the cafe, and she's got to make it to the exit point without stopping once. But if her pen touches the lines or moves backward, she's out. She starts. Her pen touches the line. Ji-hoon says they're out. He says they were doing so well. Why did she suddenly mess up? He tells them to put the prize back. Jaehyun tells the female lead that she doesn't know how crazy he is. She asks, "What?" He says his heart is beating so fast. She asks, "What?" He says he wants to kiss her right away. She asks how far he's going to take this. People are looking at them. He should let go of her hand already. He says the protection will be available this week, and she pulls away. He thinks to himself that even though it seems like he can finally catch up to her at any moment, she can drift away in an instant. She can push him off and run away as many times as she wants, but he's never going to let go of her. Jaehyun asks what thoughts inside her head made her blush that red. She doesn't say anything, and he starts laughing. She thinks to herself that she has seen a smile like that on someone else before. A very, very long time ago. It can't be. That kid was from the SEO family clan. Lee Jaehyun is from the Lee clan. Most importantly, that kid was smaller than the other kids his age. He says they should get going. She says if she heads for the exit point in this direction, he says he'll drive her back. She says she can go back on her own. It's not like she doesn't know her way around. He says he'll take her back. He asks why she keeps avoiding him. She even pushed his hand away earlier. She says he shouldn't behave like that in public. He asks what's wrong with him behaving that way. No one is around anyway. She says even though no one is around at that moment, they're still outside. That too, they're on campus. What would his friends think if they happened to see them together? He asks what they would think. She says they would think it's weird, of course. He asks what's weird about them. It's not like he has another girlfriend there or that he's kissing a guy out in the open. She says it's because it doesn't suit him. He asks if he's just a kid in her eyes. Isn't he? She asks. She says it's a fact that he's younger than her. He asks if he was good every time they were intimate. She tells him to get his facts straight. He's yet to do anything with her. He reminds her what they did in the shower. She says that's why he's still a kid. What she meant to say is, he asks if she will be okay with him seeing girls his age. He says he never begged her to date him. Though he has nagged his way into kisses and intimacy, she asks, so what? He says he's asking if he gets a girl his age to date him. Will she stop complaining? He says her bringing it up again and again. She's just doing it to feel better about herself without guilt, right? She says yes. That will make her feel better without any guilt. Jung Eunkyo is making coffee. Haeda says he still has 3 more bottles to prepare. She asks, 3 more? With the amount we have here? He says they said 100 more people will come. They're paying them well, including delivery and catering expenses, so they have to push sales as much as possible. Plus, the request came from his alma mater. How could he not do it properly? She asks herself who asked for catering service at a campus festival. She recalls her last conversation with Jaeheon. Such a hollow ego it was. Just this pathetic pride of hers. She doesn't want to get swayed by his cruel words. He seemed totally unfazed hearing her answer. Throughout the whole time driving her back to the café, he was his usual unbothered self. That was what even bothered her more. She drops a cup and burns her hand by mistake. Haeda asks if the burn is too serious. He washes it. She thinks to herself that it feels different while Lee Jaeheon grabs her hand. She's not nervous at all. Haeda asks her if the burn is really serious, should her take to the hospital. She says, no need. She's fine. She'll wait and keep an eye on it for now. He says then they need to push some ointment on it at least. He tells her to stay still. She thinks to herself that about Haeda. It's just so comfortable and easy being with him. She wouldn't probably feel anything even if he were to hug her tight. She asks if he's dating anyone these days. He's been so quiet lately. He asks when she started caring about her love life. They should pretend they don't know each other. She asks if they were to be single at their 50s. What if they just got married? He asks, what? She says she means they can feed and take care of each other in their lonesome old days. She asks if it's too stupid of a plan. He asks why he would ever get married to her. She asks what's wrong with her. He says he actually wants a lovey-dovey, sweet married life with a girl he can do anything with. She says she's a woman too. He doesn't see her? Or what? He says of course she's not. He just sees her as an old friend. He can't be doing any of those things with her. She says that's true, she can't do it either. But will he promise to be around her as a friend? She says she won't ask him to marry her. He gives her a temporary relief patch. She should make sure to get burn patches and wear them later if it doesn't look better after a while. She should go to the hospital right away. She says it'll heal and be all right, hopefully. Enjoying this recap so far? Comment part 3 below. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, ciao!